What is the good word, everybody? You already know who it is. This is your man's the one, and this is the Dukes of Football. Um, it's a good night tonight. It's CFP Semi-Finals football show, and you know how we love to have a good talk about Michigan all the time. But I think I'm gonna have some guests with me tonight to talk about some of the other schools and some other things that's going on in the CFP football college world. Um, we thought we were going to get our good friend DeLion back tonight, but he is still recovering from his battle with the plague. So hopefully we'll get him back next week. So no less of a good show. We're still going to have our NFL picks tonight, but we wanted to make sure that we want to get a lot of the college football world in. So I brought some friends along tonight to chit chat about some college football and some other football. So what is going on, fellas?
How's it going?
Hanging. So, Matt, why don't you tell us how you know the network?
So, Dan and his brother got me kind of hooked into doing this when I was doing online racing with them, and I'm following it along since. Follow you a lot. Like to go back and forth with you, so this will be fun.
Awesome. What's that? Devon, right?
My buddy Devin, yeah.
Devin. I don't know why I thought Devon.
It's almost as good as the name of Damon, but not quite. Close. How you doing, my man?
What's going on?
Are you pretty excited, man?
I'm always excited. How about yourself?
Michigan in the playoff, though, big deal. Want to fire Harbaugh 1 minute, next minute, like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Listen,
how's it going in Michigan?
I'll talk Harbaugh in a minute because I'm split with this guy. You know what I mean? Because I am, it just ain't working all the time. You know what I mean? But I'm also like, well, who else you gonna go get? And then I also like we have a connection between a friend of ours, a mutual friend. We get special privileges. That a lot of fans don't get to get. So. What you got, Matt?
Oh, good old 6 colors ahead of you, Jimmy Harbaugh. That's all I'm gonna say. I'll speak my piece about him later. Don't you worry.
Yeah, I mean, he's my coach. You know what I'm saying? I was angry for a long time. But then I just got to understand a couple things. You know what I mean? Like people keep saying, Michigan fans want to live on a legacy. And then you had to think about it. So what was our legacy? The last 30 years, our legacy has been losing. You know what I mean? So what are you looking for? Like, if you think about it, our last national championship, which was split, was in 97, with Nebraska. And before that, the last outright national championship was in the early 80s. So no, it was earlier than that. So
it could be Nebraska.
You know what I mean? So
so good.
You know what I mean? So it's like you celebrating what? Your last national championship, most of you weren't even born.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what I sadly was because I'm old. But,
Yeah, I've been around a while.
Yeah.
So So, fellas, just so we just might as well get into it. We got another fella that's going to hang out with us coming along as soon as I guess he figures out his internet connection. Must be that old Westfield air. You know what I mean? The internet is subjectly up north.
Things great for the internet there.
It's the taxes. You think them high ass taxes, their internet to be on point.
Could be an Ohio State fan too.
Oh, yes. And why are they so still angry? You know what I mean? Like, really? Are y'all still mad? Like, you got the dude throwing shade at the Heisman. You mad? What you mad for? You know what I mean? I don't know.
They want Urban back.
What an idiot.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny.
I don't know. I feel that Roger Goodell and the rest of the owners should do a vote on Khan. Like, we don't really want you an owner if that's the type of guy that you're going to hire for your head coach. You know what I mean? Like, that's me. They put every other owner out for dumb shit.
I mean, what about Dan Snyder, though?
They can't pin nothing on him, bro. He's friends with the higher ups. He's part of that syndicate.
Yeah. I think the thing that bothers me about that is like, a player, like, you look the other day, Kamara, like Christmas colored, cleats, and they're going to like probably fine him like 10 grand. And he's like, that's okay. I'll just go ahead and, match that fine and give it to a charity. But it's just so silly, like, it's like you get these players and then like, maybe Aaron Rodgers, obviously a little higher up in the hierarchy, could say something, and then Kamara or whoever else are fined for like just silly shit, like ridiculous. I don't get that. Same thing with the owners, I guess.
I like how they finally started to call some of these players out who are just blatantly violating things. Like you got your guy from the Bills, Cole Beasley. Like you've been fined $100,000 for repeatedly violating the. Why don't you just put the sumbitch out? If he's not going to follow, your choice is your choice. And like I don't care if you want to take the vaccine, fine. If you don't want to take the vaccine, fine. But you got to follow a certain set of rules. And if you can't follow them certain set of rules, then I can't have you around. Period. If I was his teammates, I'm shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong on that. But to that same point, though, look at the guys that are getting fined for taunting. That's getting insane, too. So a little wave you're getting fined for. Like, I just think they're getting money hungry because if you think about it, look at how much money they lost last year with not having fans in the stands. So they have to make up the money somehow this year.
Yes, that's pretty wild. You go into like the taunting thing is sort of senseless. You ever seen it? Like, I was at a Purdue football game, I'm a big Purdue fan, here. And like one time, Purdue Pete like had like his hammer, right, or something like that, and the player was going by like and like threw him the ball or something like that, like, and they like gave us like some kind of like celebration because like the ball ended up at his feet and he threw it back to him. It's like that's a penalty? Like you can't you can't use a prop. Bit of fine. You go spike that Dallas Cowboys star, like that was fun.
That was funny. That was hilarious. That was great. Or like when I'm not an Ezekiel Elliott fan by any means, but like the fine to him jumping in the Salvation Army bucket on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That was great. And you're gonna fine him for it, like, and you're gonna throw the penalty. Like, come on, man, you're doing a little bit much.
This isn't Randy Moss and his shoot to the moon.
Hey, I like this celebration.
The Sharpie days, pull out the Sharpie, quick autograph.
That was classic. The fact that you're carrying around a Sharpie in your sock is confidence.
Yeah, that inspired me to do that at a pickup basketball one time on 9-foot gorilla rims. I did a 360 windmill on a dude, and I had a sharp. It's all because of him, man. All because of T.O., man. Just pulled out. Like he didn't really accept my autograph much, but it felt good.
It felt good.
Imitations is the most sincere form of flattery, right?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. What is Dan talking about? Uh-oh. Why do we allow Cowboy fans on the show?
I'm not a Cowboy fan.
I am.
He's talking about Matthew. Well, that's the only person he could have been talking about because he sure as hell wasn't talking about. You know what? I can't even talk bad about it right now. I got some good things to say here in a little bit, and it sucks because I hate it.
Get the
but they're still not better than the Steelers, so I'm good.
Yeah.
So hey, while we're talking about the NFL, let's jump into these picks real quick because I like guest picks a little bit. So we can jump into that. So that way we can get into our main topics of the day. So that is not what we're doing. I need to get in order. So here we go. Doc Sports NFL picks of the week brought to you by Doc Sports. Text BWSPORTS1 to 29022 for your free $60 in picks. I know this comment is Dan. If I switch over and look, I know it's him. Of course it is. Every damn day, Eagles fly, Eagles fly. So how often do you hear that on racing, Matt, when you guys are iRacing? Eagles fly and all that crap.
Too much. But he's usually saying that because he's usually chasing me. So it's just like the Eagles chasing the Cowboys in the East. Like, you better catch up, buddy.
Ooh, he's throwing shots early. All right, so our first game of the week, we have the Chiefs and the Bengals. I picked this game because this is a nice top of the AFC battle. You got the Bengals, who is a new up and coming young team with a lot of talent, a lot of potential coming into the AFC and the AFC North. You got the Chiefs, who are basically starting to find their momentum, find their swagger, so to speak. So I figured this will be a pretty good game. You know, I mean, a decent defense, a hungry offense, exciting offense who's starting to catch themselves, and the defense is very opportunistic. What do you think about this, Vince?
Well, we're talking spread winner, right? Obviously, or just straight up?
No, these two are just straight up. We only got one spread winner.
Well, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I sort of like noticed like a trend, like I was saying before, like in the live game betting, where like there's a spot of momentum and like people kind of like hit that extra gear. And as good as the Bengals are, and it's at the Bengals, so I've not really checked the weather, as far as that goes, but I just think like now is like winning time. So like when you're like you're already in playoff mode already now, if you're a good team, I think you guys probably both can agree with that. So I would definitely have to go Chiefs here. Honestly, I think that they're in a good spot to win the Super Bowl. If they can all come back and be healthy like they've been. They've got like Hilaire's been out, Kelsey, but like what's striking about them is like their defense has really come on. Like beginning of the season last year, they were pretty decent. And I think when you have that Super Bowl hangover, you get that hunger back, when you come back and you kind of hit a wall. And it's like now, like, when you lose one, it's sort of deflating. And I think, getting back in there, I feel like, so I really liked him in this matchup if it were me, and versus the spread, to be honest with you.
All righty. I mean, 10. Oh, damn. I got all the wrong.
The franchise. You can call me the franchise. I work with him. Whatever you want.
The franchise. What you got, Matt?
So I kind of agree with him on that, other than I don't know if the Chiefs are the Super Bowl pick for the AFC. The AFC is so wide open. But everybody is doubting Cincinnati because which Joe Burrow shows up. If Joe Burrow from the last game shows up against that Chiefs defense, that's going to be tough to beat. And then Joe Mixon on top of it, being a multi-talented back in the passing game, running game. He's got weapons there. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. I mean, Cincinnati's offense is very capable of putting points up on the Chiefs. So which Joe Burrow shows up? At home, Joe Burrow seems to be a better quarterback, but you can't really go against Patrick Mahomes. I know the spread's like 5 points. I know we're not betting on the spread or talking about the spread in this game, but that 5 points is very deceiving because the Bengals can easily cover that. And it's also an over-under of 51, and they can easily exceed that. Both teams are giving up around 400 yards a game and putting up 400 yards a game. So I think this is going to be a back-and-forth game, but I do think the Chiefs will probably end up winning this just because of Mahomes.
Sounds good. Hey, Matt, Dan said, turn your damn fan off.
No.
You're chirping.
No.
So if I'd be in Alabama, that might be me too. But right now, I'm just in Nashville. What's going on for a little bit?
So we'll grab Dan's pick. He went with the Bengals 26-23. He probably thinks the way that I think. I like the Bengals also 33-30 in this matchup.
Now, you didn't have COVID,
a little bit.
Huh? You didn't have COVID, did you, right?
A year ago.
No, I just wanted you to explain your pick. It wasn't COVID. No, I'm just playing with you. I'm teasing.
No, you're good. No, I like the Bengals in this matchup because, for one, it'd be a good win for me, kind of, because it'll kind of keep Baltimore close with Cleveland behind. It kind of helps me out a little bit. But no, I like the Bengals in this matchup because I'm excited about their offense. And they can press the defense a little bit of the Chiefs outside of what they like to do, press up. I think they have a good running game. I have the good inside out game. He loves his tight ends, and that's a weak spot right now for the Chiefs defense. So, and Tyrann Mathieu can't guard everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I like that. And I feel like the Chiefs haven't really. I think they're vulnerable. I think they're still very vulnerable because they haven't really hit all of their clicks. They've just been fortunate to be playing teams that really aren't on a very competitive level.
I think Josh popped his score up there. I don't know if he's back or if you saw it or not.
Yes, I saw him. He's got Kansas City 27-23.
Right close to that over-under total, right there.
That fan needs to be. We're having fun here today.
That's hysterical.
Right between the lines. Dude,
nothing wrong with being remounted.
Listen, it's like 50 degrees outside and 100 degrees in my bedroom. I got to have some sort of air circulation in here. You're going to see a fat guy sweating like really profusely on TV. Nobody wants to see that.
There's a market for everything.
Right.
All right, let's switch over to game 2, which is our game of the week. We're going to go with the Cardinals and the Cowboys. I picked this game because right now the Cardinals, everybody keeps trying to put them at the top of the NFC because they're exciting to watch. Kyler Murray is an exciting young quarterback. But I like this matchup because, I hate to say it, because of the Cowboys. The Cardinals have been already proclaimed to be one of those top teams, one of those top NFC teams that can challenge for a bid for the Super Bowl out that side of the divisions. But no one's really talking about the Cowboys because we expect the Cowboys and Jerry Jones to do cowboy things. But as of right now, we have to say something good about the Cowboys. This is a very good football team on the defensive side. Dak is struggling right now. And I don't know why Ezekiel Elliott is still considered the number 1 when he's not doing the bulk of the work. But that's beside the point. This defense is absolutely exciting. You got a guy who's got 11 interceptions, and then you got a guy who's a rookie who's probably should be defensive rookie. Who's going to be defensive rookie of the year. We should probably be defensive player of the year because the dude absolutely changes the game. Michael Parsons is an absolute dog on defense. And if this offense doesn't just fuck up games, you guys should actually challenge a lot of these good teams, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Cardinals, the Rams, when you hit the playoffs.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So if you look at the Dallas schedule throughout the year, all their losses have, for the most part, been close. It's been a one-score game where they just made a couple mistakes here and there. Tampa Bay, beginning of the year, questionable OPI on Godwin for them to get the lead. The Vegas game, overtime, you're talking about close games. The Cardinals have been on such a downward spiral. You lost big to the Lions. And you're right on the fact that the Cowboys defense has been absolutely phenomenal with Dan Quinn. Dak might have been struggling a little bit, but he found his rhythm last week. If you watched much of the game or any of the game, he was accurate. He wasn't making the dumb throws of throwing into too much coverage, throwing the ball out of bounds. They're keeping the teams, I guess, tested with putting Pollard and Zeke out there, which is why I think Zeke is still out there. He's still a brute. He's still going to run you over. Obviously, I'm going to take the Cowboys in this game, and I think they actually will probably win by at least a touchdown. The Cardinals are just struggling so bad right now. And I think the Lions game and then losing to the Colts like they did. Kyler's a good quarterback. I like Kyler, but it's going to be so hard to pick against Dallas to win even from this game, even the rest of the year, and compete for that number 1 seed.
Man, I'm reading these comments from Dan. I'm not putting them up here. he is relentless with his hatred of it. Like, if he was on the show, I guarantee he'd be a little bit more objective, but he is not. He's giving you the finger. He's telling you the Whitney Houston, Dak is whack. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just think he's upset that the Eagles are really going to get trashed by the Cowboys, and I hate to say it.
And the only way they win is if the Cowboys already clinch their spot in top 2. and all their starters get benched, and even then, Jalen Hurts is probably not going to do much other than 100 yards running the ball.
Hey, what you got on this game, Devin?
Well, I have to echo the same sentiments as you do, Matt. The hate, the haterade is out in full force with Dan. I can see clearly according to Twitter and such. But I had Kyler Murray on my fantasy team, so this is not like an anti-hate on that action because I think he's very talented. I think they're way underachieving on defense. They obviously huge loss with, I think Hopkins and that sort of thing. But even still, like, he's been off a little bit, for I think several weeks now. You watch the Cowboys, and as much as it pains me to say it, like, they're really rolling on like most cylinders. I think honestly, several weeks back, Schultz, the tight end, like he's been like a revelation. If you like watch that offense, a lot of those really good Cowboy teams have had a really good tight end. That's actually kind of where the NFL's been going now for a while, where you've got that guy that can get you that guaranteed catch on third down, and he's got the ability, like Kelsey and some of the other ones, to break one off. A big 40, 50, touchdown. You just can't key in all their wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb, they've got a lot of talent. Obviously Cooper, they've got a lot. Zeke, so they can pound you. Pollard, Zeke, and then go. My biggest question mark with the Cowboys has always been like, is Dak good enough to take him to? Can he win you a game when it really, really counts? I know that does not matter in this situation. I think these are two teams almost going the opposite direction, as opposed to like the Chiefs. That's funny. It's not nothing but Cowboy love, bro. It's real talk. Hashtag real talk. Get that on there. But it's just one of those things where it's just you get in this situation. I just feel like whereas the Chiefs, I feel like they're still like on the climb. You get the Cardinals where it's like you kind of are who you are. It's almost you are who you thought you are. One of those deals. But I'd have to agree with both of, well, at least you so far, and not Dan clearly. But the Cowboys, I think they might throat punch him here and might give him the old 2-finger salute. It's gonna be pretty bad, I think, personally.
He's gonna be pretty bad.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with I'm gonna have to stick with both of y'all. The Cardinals have been struggling. That game against Indy. Indy was very dominant with some very key people out, and they were still just able to just punish them on the ground. Jonathan Taylor's an exceptional running back, but they were just able to just pound them. And the way that they looked against the Lions, come on, man, to lose a game to, a subpar team, it happens. But you can't get your ass whipped to a subpar team, if you're supposed to be like, I was all in on the Cardinals 2 years ago, and it bit me in the ass. So I was reluctant to jump on board either last year or this year. And you can see that I agree with you. I think they've kind of reached their stalling point while other teams still have opportunities to get better. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys 27-21. And we already know what he's going to do. He's going with the Cardinals 33-20.
I think I'm going to have the teams wrong. Score might be right.
Score might be right.
I think the plague got to his brain a little bit too.
That's what I was saying. He needs a booster shot.
For some reason, he thinks he's the smartest one here. Hey, don't let these Cardinals win, because we're going to get inboxed all damn day.
Killed. Well, going to what you had to say, Damon, like most teams, like when you have a performance like that, especially it happens in the NFL, you're like the worst team in the league versus the best. When you like push them when they're down, or like when you really are good, like very good teams, they always come back. Like you're not seeing the Bill Belichick, if they got beat, they got smoked in a couple of games here or there. The very next game, what happened? They beat that ass. It was not like, well, like we just kind of, no, they brought their A plus game. And you can do that in the NFL. It's a hard league. You go on the road, there's travel, there's, but like, Detroit, obviously not that good, and you get in that situation, with, what the Colts are going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like it's not like, oh, surprise, you know, Taylor's gonna get the ball. Hey, Taylor, you know, if you know what I'm saying, there's no reason to be able to not, you know, and Wentz is limited. Like you got to almost like just an easy, you know, not easy, no games in the NFL easy. You see what I'm saying? Like there's no, if you already know what they're doing and you still can't stop it after that performance with all those linemen out and people out, it's like, who are you? You know,
right, exactly. And that's the one advantage that the Cowboys have. Defense travels. You know what I mean? Yeah. Defense travels, and they got a really good defense. You know, that's been the hurting for them the last few years was their defense not living up to the hype. But they are definitely living up to the hype this year. Yeah. It's a really good defensive side of the football team. I still worry about that offensive side. You know what I mean? When you got to come out that dome, you know, they gotta make sure they keep winning, because if they got to come out that dome and play some of them outdoor teams, like if you got to go to Green Bay, it's gonna be tough, buddy. It's going to be tough. So, and right now, I think Green Bay is who's sitting at the top of the NFC. Am I correct?
Yeah, by a game. Yeah, but I did see where Dallas is 9-1 in the division. That kind of helps them in certain tiebreakers since they didn't play heads up. So somehow the Packers could lose a game to, I think it's Minnesota in Detroit. I think if they play next, that's the problem. But you get in division play, anything can happen, man. You know,
right? Apparently has a question for us.
All right.
But while we're waiting for his question, we can move on to our he's back. Let's see. Is Dak really a top tier quarterback?
So I don't know. Define top tier. I mean, is there another quarterback that's better than him? Like, could somebody replace him right now? Probably not. Would I put him in the top 10 amongst the league? I would, but I wouldn't put him above like Rodgers, Brady, or anybody like that. But I think he's a top 10 quarterback. I mean, they definitely paid for him, so he better show up to be a top 10 quarterback.
My thought, he's sort of like a fringe guy. I'd say like maybe right now, but if you were going to be like, I'd rather have like a Burrow, you know, I'd rather have like an Allen, you know, like if you got, you know, I would think, I mean, you get him or Hurts, like, you know, I think I like Dak better than in that kind of situation, or even a two or whatever. But, you know, if you get, I think he's really good for what they want to do. They can run the ball. You know, he's a good fit for them, right? But like, so it's really all about fit. Like, you know, Trent Dilfer was no world beater, but that defense was good. You know what I mean? So like, I just think he's got a lot of pieces, you know, like they've got the pieces. I mean, I think he's good enough to get it done, you know, like as obviously I don't really love that particularly, but like, you know, I call it like I see it, you know, and I think he's at this point right there at that cusp. I mean, I don't think that the quarterback play is like earth shattering. Like, you know, sometimes it's gone, you go back and especially play fantasy 18, 20, 22 deep, you can still get somebody pretty decent, you know, put you up some numbers. But I mean, I don't think that much of Carr, he's had up and downs too. So like, I think he's a great fit for their system. So I think he's right there on that edge, but he works well for Dallas, you know, certainly now.
So real quick though, because people forget Dak was a 4th round pick. So his expectations were not as high as somebody like Mahomes who went early in the draft, or, you know, anybody who is a 1st round pick. So his expectations to come in to be successful was low, and look how well he's done as being a 4th round pick. There's not many that come mid to late draft, Brady's an exception, who exceed expectations. So when I say like top tier, top 10, like for what he is as a 4th round pick, he is a top 10 quarterback compared to a 1st round.
Let me ask you a question. Who was the last quarterback that was drafted very high to win the Super Bowl?
You're asking me?
It was anybody.
Or in general. Oh.
In general. It had to be Peyton Manning with Broncos, right?
Eli
would be, but that's
was he after or before?
That was before, I guess. Yeah, you're right.
So I would say Wentz. Okay, I'm just trying to. The reason why I asked because a lot of your Hall of Famers right now that are leading the league, or like your top 5 passing guys right now, were all not 1st round picks, right?
Rodgers was.
Rogers was what was he, late first round or top first
Yeah.
round? So he
Ben
might be
was
the
a
only
first.
one.
Ben was first round.
Ben was first round. I kind of
Yeah.
thought he was second round.
No, he went late first round to Pittsburgh because that was the same draft that Phillip Rivers and Eli went.
Right, because I'm looking at, Brady 6th round, Drew Brees was like what?
Early second.
Early second.
He was the first pick of the second round.
Right. So I'm just looking at it like a lot of these guys who go number 1 don't really pan out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, like not looking at some of those, I don't kind of really. He says, "Come on, the Eagles, man." Nobody really like Carson Wentz. Did nobody like Carson Wentz, and they still don't like Carson Wentz.
Well, Nick Foles really won the Super Bowl, though.
I mean,
right,
he just happened to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
Yes, correctly, yes, or technically you are correct, Dan. Yes, right. I would just ask the question. I wasn't quite sure. You know what I mean? But I kind of look when it comes to Dak. I kind of look at it as in he has a lot of good pieces. You know what I mean? But I don't think the coaches that he's been around or involved with have been able to develop all of those pieces to take them to the next level. If I think that Dak, you can win a Super Bowl with Dak, I think you can when you got that kind of defense. You know what I'm saying? But if you needed to, this is how I rate top tier quarterbacks. Can you take them off the winning team that they are now, put him on another team, and can they do the same thing?
If that was the answer, I would say he's probably not.
That's a top tier quarterback to me. Now, can I think he can be that if he was developed right? Just think if you put him with a quarterback guru and not Jason Garrett. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You put him with somebody good and not Mike McCarthy. You know what I'm saying? Give him somebody who can develop his skills because he's got all the tools. He's got the big arm. He's got, pretty decent accuracy. He can put up some high numbers when it comes to accuracy percentages. But you know what I'm saying? If he doesn't get hurt, what does his numbers look like? If he doesn't get hurt last year, I mean, does he make that turn?
I think what he's gotten better at is knowing his strengths and weaknesses. Like he's kind of made better decisions. His decision making has gotten better, in my opinion. He'll pull it down and run it if he has to, and go down or get out of bounds, or really in general, like he might not thread that window he might have done 3 years ago, right? He might just let it go. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing that's where he's made great strides, which is why I think he is good enough for them in that system. If that helps, that's my.
Yeah, so I think he's good for like you. I think he's good for them, but if you take him out of that system, what can he do somewhere else? Could he, like I know Brady's an exception to the rule, but like there was no decline, for him going to New England to Tampa Bay. Like Tampa Bay sucked. Brady went there. Tampa Bay's good. You know what I'm saying? Do you do that? Brett Favre left Green Bay. Minnesota wasn't very good, but they were good that year he was there. You know what I'm saying? Peyton leaves Indianapolis. Denver's not very good, even with that defense. Yeah, Peyton goes there. They go to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Granted, they get blown out in one, but they go. So if you can take with the goodness from one and take it to another and do the same thing, you're a top tier quarterback. Like when Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay and he goes and he wins with Pittsburgh, he's going to be a top tier quarterback.
He's going to win with Jeopardy before he wins with Pittsburgh.
Man, that is the best. Listen, that is the best situation for either him or Russell Wilson. Is Pittsburgh best situation?
You guys are going to get Kenny Pickett.
I think you bring him to the Colts, bro. Let him throw indoors.
They believe in the redhead blunder. For some reason, they keep wanting to give this guy the ball, and Jonathan Taylor is the reason they're winning. But let's keep this thing moving. All right, where are we going? Hey, you know what? I'm ready to get back to college talk, so let's skip the rest of these because I don't really particularly care. Yeah, I don't know. Let's go into the next. Let's get into this college. So we're going to go to a short commercial, and then we'll get right into the college talk. I love it. Hey, if you guys look real close, you can see Dan's calves. That was our good friend Zach Dyer over at Elite Performance. If you are looking to get yourself in that elite shape, work off that holiday eating that we've been doing the last month and a half, make sure you hit our friends up over at Elite Performance, 765-499-1005. Oh, righty. Yeah, Dan's been over there thinking he's like Lou Ferrigno, you know what I mean, trying to, get his pecs up. Think his wife is going to like him again. That was unfair. All right, so we're going to get into our talk for college, man. So we came here to talk about the CFP, so I guess we're going to get right into it. Our Final Four teams is Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, Cincinnati. Before we get into breaking down some of these schools and the matchups, let's go ahead and start off with the fact that that was some bullshit how you jumped Michigan to put Alabama because you don't want the rematch of the SEC championship game, but you set it up to force the rematch of the SEC championship game.
I'm going to disagree. Not because of it being Michigan. So you got to look at it in the aspect of Georgia gave up less than 100 points on defense all year. Alabama lost a fluke game to Texas A&M, and they absolutely exposed Georgia. So I think Alabama has legitimately been the best team all year. So they deserve to be number one. Michigan deserves to be number two. Georgia deserves to be number three, and Cincinnati deserves to be number four.
I completely disagree with you because in any other situation, any other circumstance, if the number one team loses, the number two team wins in a very convincing fashion. It wasn't like they lost or like they won with a field goal or they struggled the whole game. They laid the smack down on some candy Iowa ass. That's what they did. They did what they were supposed to do. How are you going to jump them? Like, because you don't want to see that matchup. You know what? How about you drop their ass all the way out since they lost late? Don't keep rewarding them because they play in the conference that is overhyped, as you can see in the 0-4 start for the SEC as of bowl games right now. You know what I mean? They lose, they knock them out. If it was any other school they'd have lost, they'd have knocked them out, knocked them completely out of the thing. Cincinnati, I mean, yeah, they're a non-power 5, but they've answered the bell. You win all your games. You win all your games in the fashion that you deserve to win all your games. You know what I mean? Just, I don't know. I think they're going to get their ass whipped because here's your reward. Your reward is Alabama. I'd rather see the Michigan-Cincinnati. You know what I mean? We get a backdoor Ohio-Michigan matchup.
Yeah. I'm very opinionated by this. I don't know if you really want me to get fired up over this topic.
No, we don't have to get too fired up. I mean, I understand the nation's, oral fascination with the genitalia of the SEC.
I mean, I hate the SEC. I would be ecstatic if it was Michigan, Cincinnati in the finals. However, it's hard to say Alabama's not the best team in the country, and it's all because of Nick Saban. It's the Nick Saban effect. Unless they get 2 losses, you're not going to see them out of the top 4. because of Nick Saban. That's just how it is.
I think one of probably the first thing that happened was Georgia ended up beating.
Just a bitch.
Oh yeah.
Georgia ended up beating Clemson early, right? The first game of the year.
Yeah.
And they got such headway with that, but in reality, Clemson wasn't any good. You know, you don't lose ETN, you don't lose like your best two players almost ever, and then replace them, at the position. So I think part of the problem is they stayed up in that so high, and then they would beat, an SEC team and slaughter this team, because their defense is so dominating that talent-wise, no one could really hang with them, anywhere they played until they played, Alabama, and in which case, they could. And I think a lot of that goes back to what, you're saying, Matt, like where they're feeding, like Alabama was told all week long, because I live down here, obviously, and my almost fiance, she's an Alabama fan. I've really liked them ever since Alabama destroyed Notre Dame the first year I moved down here. That was great. I won a lot of money on that, but thank you both sides on that one. Hey, don't be so hateful, my man. Life's good. COVID, don't let that get you down, bro.
Hey, all I got to do is hit a button and you're gone anyway, so I could care less.
Oh, that's sad, man. Is that how we going to do? Is that what we're going to do? Oh, man. Nobody puts Devin.
Hey, I'm just saying.
So, anyways, like down there, like a lot of people did not think like down here that we're like, lifelong Alabama fans. They were all like thinking like, well, we have to do this to have a chance. It was very wild. It was like people were blown out. You don't hear Alabama people talk like that normally. Like they're like, well, they're pretty confident, feel really good about it. They're leery about things like the Iron Bowl, huge bowl game, and when you get those rivalry matchups, you never know what can happen. Like you be the better team and lose those things sometimes. But they bought into like them being an underdog, and pretty much when they're an underdog in the last like 5-6 matchups, they end up winning outright. It doesn't happen a lot, but they really, fans on here were like, well, we got to play phenomenal to even be in the game, And a lot of that started off with that big hype train from that first win, and then they're still slaughtering these other SEC teams, but some of them are sort of mediocre, obviously overrated. But going back to, you said, Damon, I'll say that, like, even before that game was over, I'm like, I guarantee they'll put Alabama and Cincinnati, pair them together 1-4 because they don't want a rematch of Georgia and Alabama. So
we talked about that in Dan and I and Sean. We talked about it in a backdoor feed. We knew exactly what that was going to be beforehand. I understood it. Didn't mean I had to like it.
Now I do think that Alabama probably deserves it, all things considered. However, they were going to do that whether they put them 2-3, 1-4. No matter what they did, that was going to happen.
I feel that Michigan deserved it the way we spanked Ohio State.
Why did Alabama deserve it more than the number 2 team Michigan, who beat the dog shit out of Iowa?
And Ohio State, who was, the
only reason I'm saying Iowa
team beat the dog shit out of Iowa.
Well, hey, but you were not in the Big Ten championship. That was why I brought that up.
Because I know we had a terrible loss to Minnesota. Otherwise, we would have been playing Michigan.
Okay, tell me why Alabama, in your opinion, deserves the 2 seed over the 2 seed Michigan, who should have moved to 1 seed at that time.
Well, I see what you're saying as far as like actual ranking assessment. You're right.
Yeah, like a real ranking instead of all the bullshit that they do.
Else.
Exactly.
If it wasn't in Alabama, I get that. You're not wrong. They were going to do that for another.
See, I gotta take a breath now. You got me riled up. I can only talk for Texas so long.
A&M, who was pretty good. They weren't at the time unranked. Ended up being better, I think, than the law. If you look at it that way,
we
did hit the button.
Yeah,
it was a rivalry game.
You're starting to pause now. You're talking shit about Alabama. Now that your Alabama puppet internet down there is saying, "Whoa,
no. I keep it real, man. I keep it real. I'm just saying, like,
he's in Nashville right now.
I'm in Nashville right now. I'll be in Alabama in 2 days. It's fine. I'm going to be rooting on my Purdue team against hopefully another SEC loss. You don't like Purdue either?
I mean, I actually picked them to win. Thanks to somebody else on this feed, but
well, Purdue used to be a Notre Dame sub rivalry, so he does have a little.
You're a Notre Dame guy.
Little negative, yeah.
Oh, okay. You are not. Sorry.
Absolutely.
So the whole thing with the Alabama discussion, though, this isn't a discussion if Georgia just gets the job done and beats them.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
correct.
All Georgia had to do was win, and there's no discussion of Alabama being in the top 4. You're talking Notre Dame probably being in the top 4, or even maybe a Baylor sneaking in, or whoever. Like we're talking about Alabama getting the number 1. Yeah, you're talking about Alabama getting the number 1 seed by default just because of beating Georgia. So this wouldn't even be a discussion if Georgia would have just not fell flat on their face in the second half.
Yeah, if Alabama wins that game by a field goal, you would not maybe got that. But it was such a dominating win. Oh, look, we can do it now. That's my, if they would have won like very close game, last possession type deal, kind of like the Auburn game, win game in a couple overtimes. They wouldn't have done that. They might have, because then they would have been like, we can't.
No, the bad part is, Devin, they probably still would have done the dumb shit like that.
Well, they might have put them like 2 and 3, and then you're right. They might have put.
They was gonna find a way. One of those schools,
have that pairing.
One of those schools was going to like they doing that. One of those schools was going to mysteriously have the COVID protocols in the last 2 weeks before the game, and then all of a sudden Alabama gets inserted back into the final. You already know they had a contingency plan.
Well, and going back to your point about like Michigan deserving versus Alabama versus like whatever, Michigan struggled like against Nebraska. That team's not any good. I mean, they lost games like Nebraska beat themselves like constantly over and over and over. So you can go and cherry pick.
I mean, we can cherry pick them if we want to. Yeah, we lost. We struggled against a Rutgers. We struggled against Alabama. We lose to a Michigan, but the ranked teams, we walked up and down the floor.
Well,
the ranked teams, we put up 200 plus yards on the ground. The ranked teams, we slaughtered. So that's what looks at my eyes. The teams that really make your BPI. That's what I was looking
except
at.
for Michigan State. But honestly,
but it's still able to look good because they finished great.
Going into halftime, you got jobbed on that penalty for a defensive touchdown. Or that
fuck yeah.
I know you probably want to open that can of worms, but maybe you don't lose that football game, then it's a different discussion altogether.
Yeah, it's a discussion. Yes.
Dan's going to love this because him and I have had this discussion already. And this goes back to here's the reason why Alabama jumped Michigan is because you have Saban or Harbaugh. And I know you laugh and that sounds crazy, but here's Harbaugh, who you said earlier it's feast or famine with him. 1 minute they want him fired, they want him out of Michigan. He's a terrible coach. He's this and that. And all of a sudden, hey, you know what? We just made up college football playoff appearance. He's the greatest coach. We love him. We love him. You beat Ohio State, like, oh man, like this is our guy. When Nick Saban has been the face of Alabama now for so many years.
But that's what it is. That's the way it is in Michigan. That's the way it is. You can do whatever and like Harbaugh has won games. Last year was the only losing season. He's won 10 games. He's won 11 games. But the issue is you have to beat this team. Like the ass whooping we gave Notre Dame, no one really cared.
Yeah,
we didn't. We don't care. We only bring it up.
Fuck you.
Yes, we only bring it up to make Notre Dame people angry. Like I told Dan before, you're third on our pecking list when it comes to rivalry. So that game doesn't really mean a whole bunch to us as it does to you. But this game with Ohio State, it does. Like that destroys coaches' careers. They're like, he lost this game regardless of all the manipulating he did with his schedule. I mean, his contract to stay another year. If he'd have lost this game, he was done. He was done. He was gone.
And they were not happy after the Michigan State game.
I mean, especially after the Michigan State game. Now, if you'd have beat Michigan State, you might have been able to, finagle your way another year. You get a good bowl game, not play Florida, get a good bowl game because we can't beat Florida in the bowl game. You know what I mean? Maybe. But you beat them, it's different here. You know what I'm saying? That determines your season. Kind of like with Auburn and Alabama.
Yeah.
That game determined. If you lose to them, I mean, I don't care what you did all year, but you beat them. You can go 0-11. You beat Ohio State. Your year was successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Even
but
like
to that point,
will win the game of the Iron Bowl like every 3 or 4 years, sometimes when they're not successful to or whatever. And that's sort of been enough to, to keep the bad coach around. Whereas it's just like it doesn't matter what you do, like they were winning 9-10 games, 8-9 games, but bad year down there for them 8-4. But if you win that got you. But then some of his other ones, and they won that Georgia.
Okay, so let me ask you this though, because you said about the Ohio State game as a reason why Harbaugh is going to be there another year. If Alabama would win 4 games in a year, would they fire Nick Saban?
Nope.
That's my point. Like Nick Saban is such a figurehead at Alabama now. It's all about money in this sport, and not one single person could disagree. Like college football now is turning into a money sport. Nick Saban's going to bring. Well, it's even more now. It's even more now with the NIL deal. You know what I'm saying? So Nick Saban is a figurehead. Nick Saban is a face.
It's legal and open now, is what you're saying.
Right. So Nick Saban could win 4 games in a year, and they're still going to keep him because guess what? He's putting fans in the seats, and people are still going to watch him on TV. Harbaugh loses another game against Ohio State. He's going to be gone because it's Harbaugh. That's just the mentality.
I mean, but you could say the same, right? If Nick Saban loses 4 straight years to Auburn, you think they're not going to be the alumni going to talk about? Maybe it's time to retire. They might not fire him, but they're going to be like, hey, you know what? Let's agree.
Being advisor.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I guarantee you, if he lost 4 straight years to Auburn, Nick Saban is going to leave too.
Now, I'm going to say one thing, and Damon, you're going to love this, okay? Coming from a Notre Dame guy especially. I personally think that Jim Harbaugh is a better college football coach than Nick Saban is to the players because and it's apparent and obvious that he's definitely a better college coach than a pro coach because he can relate to college players more so than grown-ass men in the NFL. Nick Saban, what he has on his side is the name of Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, I'm not saying he didn't help establish that name, but at this point, doesn't matter who that coach is, they're still on a spinning cycle of top tier recruits year in, year out.
I'm gonna disagree with you because there was a very long time that Alabama was not good.
Correct.
You know what I mean? There was they didn't get good until Nick Saban came back to Nick Saban went to Alabama. There were some whole lot of years that I remember I thought Alabama was supposed to be good. Kind of like how Michigan has gone through their long span. OSU went through Notre Dame went through a long span.
We're still
but
fucking
they just weren't good. You know what I'm saying? So I can't really say that he's not a good coach or anything like that, or he didn't make the legacy of Alabama.
I didn't say he wasn't.
There was a legacy of Alabama before, but he wasn't getting players. You know what I mean? Players started coming to Alabama when he took his national championship from LSU and went to Alabama.
And what I said was now, as of now, not back then when he started, as of now, they're not coming for Saban. They don't need to come for Saban himself. The Alabama Crimson Tide is the name of that 99% of the top recruits automatically put on their board if possible.
Yeah,
Michigan,
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that. Yeah, I think they're going there for him because I think if Nick Saban just up and left, I think if he retired, I guarantee you half of that class will decommit.
Yeah,
because they know if you go to Alabama, Nick Saban will get you to the league. You take Nick Saban out of that equation, I guarantee you they fall back down to a regular
you look at
recruiting status.
Look at USC 10, 12 years ago. They were before Alabama's run, they were like, everyone's like, they were going to lose again. I mean, there was like a very much smaller window than Alabama's. It was like
Pete Carroll
3-4
leaves
years
and
where
they
everything was-
automatically suck.
Yeah.
And I know how you love Pete Carroll.
But now you look at Lincoln Riley, the recruits immediately right away, boom. So
Immediately the
that's
recruiting
a lot
goes
of
up.
coaching, you know,
I mean, when he left Oklahoma, how many kids
say.
decommitted?
I'm still sticking to my guns that Jim Harbaugh is a better college player related coach than Nick Saban is.
I mean, he's a player's coach. Yeah. Nick
absolutely.
Saban's a system coach. Jim Harbaugh's a player's coach. That's why we've had the troubles that we had, because you put your feelings of certain players in the game when you shouldn't have. You're putting your feelings on players that can't do what they can't do, and you're putting your feelings in you calling plays. Let Josh Gaddis call plays. You stand over in them nice press khakis, with the little arm, and make those little looks. Do that, and let's win football games. But as soon as you start doing that Stanford shit, there you go. You get predictable, and we get, man coverage in the secondary get wiped out.
Well,
at least you listened to your brother and hired a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I will say down here, like if you watch him on the sideline and demeanor, like the thing I like about him is that he's not afraid to talk to that superstar like he would like the fourth-string person or walk-on.
I know. I'm the same way. I'm going to talk to you the same as I'm going to talk to Matt, the same as I'm going to talk to D. I'm going to talk shit to each and every one of you equally.
He's consistent if there's one thing. All right, so let's that is not a good pause. I really don't want to leave him on that pause. He's just I don't know, maybe it was the Nashville Inn.
I didn't.
There he is.
Hey, 5 minutes later, he pauses again.
Yeah.
We'll get him back. So let's keep it moving. All right. So we got our 4 teams. We got our matchup. First matchup, Cincinnati, Alabama. So Cincinnati number 4, Alabama number 1. Obviously, Alabama had the one hiccup with Texas A&M. Saban's first loss to a former coach, but pretty much throughout the season, Alabama kind of dominated everybody they played except that game. Earlier in the season, they looked like they struggled a bit because they had a first-year quarterback trying to find his rhythm. They started to lean on the defense. We looked at it as in Alabama. This wasn't one of Nick Saban's better defensive squads because of what he sent to the NFL last year, but it was a good one, and they gelled all year. This Cincinnati team has been underdogs.
Not against Auburn. That was a close game.
Yeah. Cincinnati, have been, the down talk since their bowl win last year. You know what I'm saying? Good football team, highly ranked when we first started the season. You got 32 seniors back, all play significant time. You got a first-round draft pick and a quarterback. You got a very good running attack. This Cincinnati team is a very good team, as Notre Dame can attest to. That was a big win. So this matchup is going to be a little better than people think that it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. So I'll disagree in that aspect. I thought maybe Cincinnati, Georgia would be a better matchup. Considering last year's game against Georgia, the only thing different between the Georgia team last year and the Georgia team this year is the quarterback play. You got Jake Fromm, who went to the NFL, to Stenson now, who's their quarterback. Mm-hmm. The problem I see with Cincinnati is they like to run the ball a lot, and Alabama seems like they can do a pretty good job of stopping the run. Look at the Auburn game. Auburn's notorious for running with Tank Bigsby and they had that one, the other freshman, I can't think of his name, because they were trying to run the ball against Penn State and they couldn't run the ball against Penn State. So Cincinnati can run the ball. Alabama has a good run defense, and that's going to be the big thing for them. I think if it's vice versa, if Michigan was in the shoes against Alabama, I would probably say this game is a lot closer. They're saying it's a 13.5-point spread. I really think Alabama's probably going to cover that only because it's Bryce Young. It's hard to bet against Bryce Young throwing the ball. It's going to be hard to bet against Alabama's defense. They're going to stop Cincinnati's run. And it's going to make it tough for Cincinnati to even throw the ball downfield on them because, I mean, that Alabama's defense is really quick. It's quicker than what Notre Dame's defense was.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on the fact that it's going to be a different level of play that Cincinnati has seen. But there's something about veterans. There's something about experience. You know, Alabama's a turning machine. You know, you don't get play, you transfer and all that type of stuff. Cincinnati's not one of those guys, one of those teams. There's going to be something to say about 32 playing guys. You know what I'm saying? I think that has a lot to do. And I don't underestimate the resiliency of this Cincinnati offense. They are one of the more well-balanced teams in the country when it comes to the diversity of their offense. He loves to hit the tight ends in the middle, and Alabama is strong on the corners and strong on the back end. Their linebackers are not at the top. They're good up front when it's rushing the pass, but if you catch them in the screen game, which Cincinnati is very good at, I think it's not going to be a blowout. I think they're going to have to work for this win. Not saying Cincinnati is going to win it, but Alabama is going to have to work for this win.
I feel like it's sort of possible the game was close earlier in the game. If you look at Ritter, you know, I think he's a very good quarterback and he's pretty good with his feet and that sort of thing. And then, you know, Cincinnati obviously has been told, man, you've got no chance. You know, like when you hear that as a team, as a competitor, you know, you take that to heart. You know, they were probably told that before they played Notre Dame. You know, they were told that before they played at Indiana. Obviously, not nearly as good as Notre Dame, but like or environment or any of those things. But you know, they embrace that role now. You know, Ritter. The problem with him is though he's a little bit of a gunslinger and has thrown a lot of interceptions. If you look at his completion percentage is not like phenomenal, you know, and they got in some sticky games with like, you know, Houston, who turned out they're a good football team. Like they got in games earlier where they were probably closer than they should, you know, like
didn't Houston just run Auburn out the field last night?
No, what I'm saying, they are a good team. I understand they beat them, but they won by like 4. I didn't watch the game, but I saw they lost, and of course people were very upset about that in that area. It's pretty funny, you know. And it was in Birmingham. So it was the Birmingham Bowl. It's pretty funny. I'm like, wow, that's sort of embarrassing. But if you look, like, I mean, Houston's a good team. I mean, so there's I'm not really surprised. I knew they'd be in the game. A little bit different animal, you know. I think what Alabama will try and do is like, you know, do what you say, take away the run. And now it's like, can your athletes hold up against these guys? And I just think about halfway through the third quarter, fourth quarter, you know, provided they don't turn the ball over, they could possibly be in the game. But if you can't get the balance going against a team like that, you're in, you know, Alabama will take it away from you. And I don't necessarily think this is like an unbelievable, great Alabama team. But, you know, getting hit by Will Anderson is probably not very much fun. You know, and I think his escapability will really help. But like, you look like Notre Dame, like Kyle Hamilton, that guy can play anywhere, you know. That guy's all world, you know, phenomenal. So I just, you know, you get in that situation. I just think that you even heard Will Anderson talking on Twitter. Like they feel like they're the underdog somehow because, you know, Cincinnati's unbeaten. You know, that sounds crazy, but like,
yeah,
who knows?
I'm
I don't
not
believe
buying that underdog
actually,
shit.
you know? Anywho, I think that they'll probably end up covering the spread because I just think you get to that talent point. It's like when you're in the game, it's a different story. But like once you've lost that will, like that you think you can win, then the wheels really come off for you when the talent shows up. You know.
Yeah, they're going to need Alabama to have a couple turnovers to keep them the momentum on their side.
You know, Michigan, Iowa. You know, it happened in Notre Dame games. I watched them play Florida State. All these games, they were in games very close to the end of the year, like 4 or 5 times during the year. and they just out-talented them and out-willed them in the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes of the games, and Toledo game. There's a lot of games, and against Notre Dame. So there's, but you get to a point where the twos can't hang in there. You bring in that second string defensive line, can they stop the running attack? Can they stand, can they stack,
Yeah, at some point in time, those backup 5 stars is going to be better than your backup 2 stars.
Yeah, he's really, if you watch him the last 3 or 4 games, he always had the talent. It was about decision making, and he's really accurate with the ball and then makes good choices. And if you look at that Auburn drive, 97 yards, that was all made on good decision making. And then he just let that confidence carry over in that Georgia game, and then that more or less would have Heisman Trophy. And you guys,
he's a good quarterback. He's phenomenal, and he's going to test the Cincinnati defense, and I think it's going to be close, but I think at some point in time, the strength of Alabama is going to figure out. So I'm thinking that all 4 of us is Alabama on this one.
Yeah, Alabama, but like you guys have said, a lot closer than what people think.
Yeah, I think they beat them by 10. I'm gonna go with 10. I wouldn't bet somebody else's money though, but
I'll bet your money. I'll bet your money is 14.
I'd bet anybody else's money in a heartbeat. Mine comes a little bit.
Right.
I think it's going to be 17 or 21, but it really depends on how they get it. If they can win the turnover battle, you might be in for something there, but
Yeah, I think they're going to need to have they're going to have to play a perfect game, their best game, and they're going to have some help with some turnovers. They're going to have to, or some plays in special teams. That's the only way that when you have I don't want to say David and Goliath, because they play harder than that. It's not a fluke that they're here. You know what I'm saying?
So great.
But they're going to need some help. Yeah, they're going to need some help.
They also. Hold on, real quick. They also need to protect Ritter because if you look, he's been sacked I think 20 times this year. Yeah. And Alabama can get to the quarterback pretty quick. I mean, they've shown it in a lot of games. So
that's where the screen comes through.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I was thinking, Dan. That's where that screen game comes in. But side note,
he can run.
I like what you say here about that defense getting pressure, because you got the defensive end for Alabama who feels like he's been kind of slighted a little bit with Aiden Hutchinson getting that defensive bid from the end going to the Heisman thing. So I can see him definitely coming out and giving an extra little bit of adrenaline rush, pushing off that line. So, it's going to be an exciting one. I got some pretty good menu items lined up for this game as well. So it should be fun.
I think a really good way to look at it is
Devin, no one cares. No, I'm just joking.
I understand. I used to be a Midwesterner, man. It's okay. I'm still Midwest at heart. But I think another good way to look at it is what all things being equal, if Cincinnati lost Ritter in the game, what would you give? What were the odds you give them a chance of winning?
If Ritter was out, they have, as Lee Corso would say, you have slim to none. As
good as Bryce Young has been playing, won the Heisman Trophy. If he went out, you think they could find a way to compete or win the game. Right?
Yeah, because of the strength of their team.
I'm not saying that does matter, but Ritter
their backup quarterback is probably a 5-star.
But Ritter can
see every time he starts talking that bullshit.
And they will use that.
Pause.
Damn it, Devin! You need better internet down there in the dirty South.
Dirty. My bad. This is Music City, baby.
I know.
It's not Internet City, that's for sure.
Dirty here.
Not Internet City. All right, so let's move over to our second game. I got something special for this with Dan. The Alabama.
Bet you do.
I've got some. I'm doing that Alabama white barbecue sauce for some wings for Alabama, and the Cincinnati. I got something special for Cincinnati.
Do not do Skyline chili, bro. It's
hey man, that shit is terrible. It's terrible. It is terrible. But
Josh,
I'll come up with something.
Josh got sick. I can tell you another podcast. Josh got sick on that stuff. No good.
Man, that shit is terrible. Skyline chili is terrible. Right, but our second game.
That's why he's pausing the whole time.
Our second game is Georgia, number 3, and yours truly, the number 2 Michigan Wolverines. Very exciting game for a lot of reasons. But to get out of it, just to talk about the football game, I think this, even if I wasn't a Michigan fan, this would be a very exciting football game to watch. You got two teams that are very run dominant and very defensively oriented. So it's going to come down to whose special teams can make better plays and whose quarterback can make the one play that you need to make. You know what I mean? Georgia has had, 3 quarterbacks play this year, and they've kind of settled in on the current Stanton is their quarterback.
Stetson Bennett?
Yeah, so they've had a couple, like they questioned Michigan, having 2 quarterbacks is having no quarterback, but they really don't have 2 quarterbacks. If you look at it, Cade McNamara is the quarterback. And I put him like a Trent Dilfer type guy. He's not a guy who's going to go out and win you a game, but he's a guy who's not going to go out and lose you a game. So I think it's going to come down to which one of these offensive passing attacks is going to make the one play that you need to make. It's going to be special teams that's going to do it. It's going to be a field goal, a block punt, a kickoff return. You know, Michigan is famous for kickoff returns in bowl games. So it can be just a lot of anything. What you got on this game, Matt?
Okay, so putting all the BS to the side of the Penn State Michigan deal, I think the issue that I think Michigan's going to have is how consistent can Haskins run on Georgia? Because that's going to be the big thing. That's how they have pretty much dominated Ohio State and how they dominated in the Big Ten title game. Is Haskins was running the ball and it was positive yards every single time. I don't think he had any negative runs in either of those 2 games. And that really opened up the door for Cade to be a quarterback. He doesn't have to be a stellar quarterback. He just has to play quarterback. If Haskins can run the ball for over 100 yards, I think Michigan can cover the spread on this game. I don't know if they have enough to beat Georgia, just because Georgia is like their defense has just been good all year.
What's the spread?
Against Alabama, it's 7.5.
7.5. I like that hook.
But if Haskins can't run the ball for more than 100 yards, I think they'll probably lose this game by double digits. It's all on Haskins. I hate to say that, and I know
it's not going to be on him. Corm is 100% healthy. So you're going to have the double-headed monster that you have for the first 6 games of the season. You're not going to have to rely on Haskins like you did. He's not going to have to run the ball 25, 28 times a game. You can split that, and you can see Corm had the body. If it wasn't for the fluke twist of the ankle, he had the body to run in between the tackles and the speed to break out the outside. So Georgia's going to have to stop. It's not Michigan has to run on Georgia. Georgia's going to have to stop Michigan's run game because they're not going to stop. They're going to continue to keep coming at you. And if all they need to do is keep you honest, one good play fake, and he's going to hit your guy going across the back of the zone. You know, Georgia is good for making bad reads in the secondary. That's what Alabama exploited them on. They saw other SEC teams that didn't have the personnel to consistently do it. Alabama did. Sadly, Michigan does on the outside. They got some very talented wide receivers that, if given the opportunity, as you can see, can make plays.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with Corum or anything like that, but you and I both know that Haskins is going to be a big part of that offense either way. So if you can shut Haskins down, I mean, Corum's going to be able to run the ball a little bit, but you're going to pretty much make Michigan have to throw the ball. And if you're forcing them to throw the ball, then you're going to be able to adjust your defense to be more of a pass protect, pass coverage defense. And then on the flip side, you're looking at Michigan. I guarantee you Georgia's going to double team Aiden Hutchinson as much as they can, and that's going to open up some spots for other guys to step up into the game and play really good defense. Right. I just think that, in my opinion, just from watching Michigan play, especially even in the Penn State game, they utilize their tight ends really well, which is good in college football. You don't see that often, tight ends being a big part. Big Ten seems like tight ends are a big thing. I just think Haskins is going to be the key. If they shut Haskins down, you're talking Corum's going to have to try and step up, but maybe by that point you're talking Cade's going to have to start throwing the ball, and then you're talking Georgia is already in their pass protection, and it's just going to make it really hard for them if Haskins isn't the focal point and is getting positive yards and pushing that 100-yard mark.
Dan, I think the only thing I got on that is just that, just like the conversation that we've had, it's like that no one just thinks that the Michigan run attack is just measly. I mean, they led the country in run efficiency in all categories. I don't think is Michigan has to run the ball on Georgia. You know what I mean? I don't think we have to. I think it's Georgia who has to stop us. And you know what I mean? Are they relentless enough to continue to doing it? They couldn't do it against Alabama. You know what I mean? We have such a better running attack. And it's not just Haskins, I think, is the thing that people keep missing out. What we saw was Haskins when Corum got hurt. If you guys watched the first 6 games of the year, most games, both of those guys were just about at 100 yards a game. Yeah. So it's not like if they somehow can keep Haskins stopped, you still have Corum. Now you have to worry about one. You can't just focus on one. You have to focus on both. And Michigan will put both of them in the offense in the backfield at the same time because Corum can catch the ball and line up in that slot. So it's going to be very difficult for Georgia to key in on Haskins when you got Corum, and then there's a freshman, Edwards, who is very exciting out the backfield as well. So it's not like they're just going to line up 8 in the box and think they're just going to shut this offense down. And Josh Gaddis has already proven that he is willing to let that ball go downfield.
As much biased as I've heard for the past 5 minutes, I can't disagree with the way that Michigan and the two-headed monster that will be coming out of the backfield very powerfully. Hey, Matt, Devin, I'll tell you straight up, Damon already knows this. Georgia was the team that I picked that would win the national title this year.
So
Georgia,
I
know Georgia was the team that I picked to beat Alabama a couple weeks ago in the SEC championship game. However, I don't think Georgia has it anymore. I wholeheartedly think that loss has broke them, and they won't get it back. And Michigan will end up beating them in this game.
Devin?
I would have to agree with. I think Michigan is a very live dog. I think watching Corum earlier in the year, I actually thought he was more impressive. If you want to know my personal opinion, so knowing that he's been like healthier recently is huge. I definitely think it would be a two-headed monster. I do agree with you on the McNamara as like a more of a game manager, probably a little bit better than a game manager. Certainly, at least in college, I don't see him being like a great NFL quarterback. You know, may get a shot, but I don't. You know, could be wrong. But they match up really, really well with Georgia. If you look at what their strengths, just like you said, their strengths and the weaknesses, like both really good defense, both going to try and impose their will at the line of scrimmage, both run the ball very well. I think that Michigan runs the ball better than Georgia does, but I think Georgia's got a better defense than Michigan does. I think where Alabama really burned like Georgia, well, they were able to run the ball some, sure, of course, but like they were very able they were able to pass the ball. That was a lot of Bryce Young accuracy and stuff. So then like they were no longer predictable what they would try and do, like once Alabama took out the running game. So I think it's going to be definitely a big time battle. I think the thing that gives me pause of Michigan the thing that gives me pause with Michigan, possibly, like if I were not say that we might not win the game, would be that like Georgia's coming off of that embarrassing, like they really got embarrassed, and I think like, and then Michigan was told how great they were after slaughtering Iowa. So, can Michigan come from like Miami, fun area, like whatever else, obviously Georgia's team, but like, can they, Georgia, sort of have that expectation, right? So they have to live up to the expectation. Michigan sort of overachieved a little bit, right? But I feel like Michigan's playing better football.
Devin, hold on real quick on that comment. As far as the, excuse me, saying that shit. I don't even remember what caused me to say
Michigan
this.
overachieving or that Georgia.
No, honestly, I don't know that this whole thing's got my mind all whacked out. But seriously, though, what I was going to say before I forget is no, it's not your fault. It's totally my fault. I'm forgetting now and I'm babbling. So go to fuck on right now, Damon, because I'll remember one of these days.
So can I ask you guys an honest question?
No, then I'll really screw my head up.
No, because this is going to make a little bit of sense, though. So Devin brings up the fact,
because I sure as shit didn't.
Well, Devin brings up the fact that Alabama absolutely embarrassed Georgia in the SEC championship game. Okay, but did Georgia really have anything to play for other than winning the SEC championship? They went in as a number 1 team. Yeah. They were more than likely guaranteed a playoff spot. So who says that they really didn't care how that game went? They were using it as just an extra, we'll just say practice per se. So, so you're talking now they have all this extra time now to play against Michigan. They might be a lot more fired up and they might be a lot more better than what we're thinking, despite how the SEC championship game went.
Damon,
that sounds like a kind of
shit.
No, that sounds like
more better.
That's more better. Yeah, that sounds like a cop out. You know what I mean? That kind of sounds like we were the number 1 team. We had nothing to play for. You play for pride. You play for the fact that I beat Alabama. You know what I'm saying? You got to have some pride. You can't just if we lose, blah blah blah. You'll never win. No one ever goes into a game. Well, not a winning football team, not a championship football team. They don't walk in the game talking about, well, if we, even though, we still have a chance. That's like going to play a Gus Macker, knowing that you're going into the championship game and you have to get beat twice, or we could lose the first game. It doesn't matter. You have to beat us twice. And then you fuck around and lose both games.
I think, right? That's funny. Gus Macker takes me back. So, like,
he just said a true story too.
Yeah,
I wasn't part of that story, but I've got a few like that, unfortunately. The thing about Georgia that, besides that, at an little extra motivation, for not performing well, that I think that I'd lean towards them winning, but not covering. If you're going that route, but is that, and I think Michigan's playing better football. Is that Georgia's really has 2 excellent tight ends. And I think and then if, I know the linebacker situation is pretty good, but I've heard it on pretty good authority that the Jim Thorpe winner is not going to play in the game for Michigan. Your number 1 defensive back, probably your best defensive. Well, Hutchinson's your best, but he's your second best player.
Who, Ajabo?
Yeah, I heard he's not going to play in the bowl game. I heard he did not travel to Miami.
Well, I haven't heard any of that. So
I know I hate breaking that to you, but I've heard it on pretty good authority that he did not travel with the team. That I could be wrong, but that's a big loss, and that's in that secondary. I mean, you don't replace those guys. They're that good. Like in our bowl game, we're missing George Karlaftis. We have another guy that's good. He's no George Karlaftis. That's a top 3-4 pick in the draft. You don't replace that at anywhere, not even out anywhere, Right. So I really think Michigan matches up really well with you for your sake and, the Big Ten's sake. I hope you're right. Like I said, the only thing that gives me a pause is that, they really got smoked and very humbled. So who are they the team that started the year or whatever? I think Michigan's playing better ball, and I think they match up very well, very, very well. So I would think Michigan would cover 7.5 points and be very but then they may win. It's not a bad money line. It's not a waste of money. Cincinnati money line, that's a waste of money. This you can win some money.
Any bet for Michigan's a waste of money.
So that's what I was going to say earlier. Everybody's talking about how humble Georgia got on that loss to Alabama, how they're going to be hungry, this, that, and the other. Flip side, your number 2 Michigan just win the Big Ten dominantly, and you're not put in the number 1 spot where they feel
you're not
like
putting
they
no respect
probably
on the
should be.
name. You're not putting no respect on the name.
I think that Michigan's going to come in with a little bit of animosity towards the rankings committee, towards the NCAA, and literally say, no, we deserve to be number 1. We're going to show you by beating the team that was number 1 all year long.
I like Michigan's camaraderie. I think they're a better team than Georgia.
Excuse me.
I think they're a very close group from everything I've read and heard. I think they're really tight, and that makes a big difference. So,
because they've been losing for a long time, you can't do nothing but stick together when you've been losing.
Kind of like
Shit.
Cowboys.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You
Says
know,
a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, I like
Hey.
the I like the fact that Georgia's playing the role in, you know what I mean, we're humbled, you know, we got a lot to prove, we're better than what we saw in Alabama. But you can say the same thing that this Michigan team has. You know what I mean? We've been proving you wrong all year. Y'all thought we were shit when we started the season. You put us at what? The equivalent of ranked 45. You know what I'm saying? First unranked team that makes the college football playoff. You know, you underrated us the whole year. You thought we was gonna get waxed by we were underdog in what 70% of our games this year.
I mean, that's a good reason.
Team.
That's a good reason right there why they shouldn't do rankings until week 6 at least.
You know what I mean? We was an underdog in 60% of our games as the higher ranked team.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about disrespect. You know what I mean? I'm not playing the hardball role. I mean, I can give or take because I was a Michigan fan before him. I'm going to be a Michigan fan after him. You know what I'm saying? So, but we can play the little victim role too.
Yeah.
So
No, I mean,
there's
I'm
a
just
lot of
making
momentum.
a point that, like, it's like sometimes it's like not like who you play, it's like when you play them, right?
Right.
They've had a few weeks, so like, you know, like I think if this would have been like 3 weeks before Ohio State, I mean, I think I'd like your chances far greater, and I also think you might win. Like I honestly think I think Michigan is a better team. It might not be the best time to play Georgia, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
If they would have beaten Alabama and knocked them off. You play them in that first round or I really like you. That's my only thing. Who shows up? I think that defense is going to really get after it. That's, you know, and the question is, can you guys do enough on offense if you can't run the ball like you want to? It's going to be a low scoring game, I think, you know, so in my opinion, but that's me.
So, Dan, I know your score. You got 33-31 Michigan. What you got, Matt?
No, this Dan picking Michigan. Come on, man. We just went through this whole thing yesterday.
I know.
You countered me.
Well, you went 1-1 on my fucking picks last night. You made my 14 parlays screwed up to the first game. Thanks, Matt.
Blame the SEC on that one. That's not my fault.
Hey, pick Mississippi State. They're going to win. Shit on that one.
I told you the Virginia Tech Maryland game was going to be a toss-up, so whichever Tech team showed up.
Yeah, Maryland tossed them up all right.
Yeah, game 2 lost.
I stopped watching that at 43-10, 41-10.
That's funny.
So,
Yeah, that's funny. I'll shut up now.
Devin, who you got? Well, Matt, who you got? You
I'm
pick
gonna
Alabama
say-
or Georgia?
He's saying Michigan.
Oh, no.
I want to say 21-20
Ooh.
Georgia.
Ooh.
Very close. Very close.
For
Matt?
argument's sake, just because I know it's going to burn Dan deep down, I'll say Georgia 50, Michigan 0.
God
no.
damn.
No. In all honesty,
on the podcast. Let's go.
no. In all honesty, I think it's close. I think you're talking like a 23-20 game.
Yeah.
Georgia.
But,
All right.
look at me,
Well,
the ring,
I got Michigan winning. That's all. That
No.
Very
matters.
possible,
All that
man.
matters.
That's a shock right there,
I
Dave.
got him winning because the national championship game is here in Indy, and I will camp out downtown all
You can put that national champ. You can put that Michigan flag, that whole thing on that 7.5, bro. That's easy money. You got it, man.
You should go get a tattoo of the national championship trophy a while. You might get one before like the next 30 years, but
Yeah.
Well, he's got one in his lifetime.
You know,
But he's only got half of it tatted because Tennessee has the other half.
I like my chances of Michigan winning the national championship faster than the Cowboys winning the Super Bowl.
Or maybe even a second playoff game.
Win a playoff game.
we have to.
I know. 2 in 25 years. Good job.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think I got to head off here. I got one last little.
Call girl. Call girl.
Are you ready? Hey, not that kind of hotel room. I think I know them back there. If you're looking for a little bit of a bonus here for I'm gonna look at the score here really quick. Not score, but the game.
He's got one of those almanacs like Back to the Future 2, huh?
I do. Let me go through my see Biff. Get your damn hands.
Damn, man, I need to borrow that.
Yeah, it's unfortunately not very good apparently. Hold on.
You might want to fire your bookie.
Oh, he's got two.
Oh,
Two for
man,
one.
the whole crowd come in tonight.
2 for
Look at
1.
him. Dad, dinner's
She's
here.
ducking. We see
Fresh
you.
towel. Fresh
I'm
towels.
looking for- I know, right? I think if you like a really good, I'll meet you guys in just a few minutes. I think sour. They want to go to dinner. Coco.
I bet they do.
Yeah, they've been starving.
Damn, it puts the lotion in the basket.
Whoa.
I'm just kidding. That's my daughter, my sister, and my girlfriend. Only one of them can put the lotion in the basket. So
Wait a minute, hold on. You say you live where?
I'm at the Music City Bowl in Nashville.
Where do you
Sister, we all
live, where
came
do
to go
you
to the
live
game.
though? Where do you live?
He lives in Alabama.
That's
Birmingham.
right. So two out of those three are eligible.
Okay, so now we're moving on with the Utah.
Damn, that's rough. I think that's harsh. Hey,
Good thing you're not from Kentucky. I've been 3 for 3, but you're good.
I didn't make it all the way up there. The trifecta, if you will. I'll tell you a live dog, man. That's hilarious. Is Utah 4.5-point dog against Ohio State?
I'll take it. Take it.
No Olave.
Yeah.
Like if you watch.
If there's no Chris Olave, it's a done deal. It's a done deal.
Well,
Utah.
But even still, I mean, how are you going to sit out of the one really quick point before we move on?
I 100% agree with you.
On vacation, how are you going to be? What is going on with all these players that are sitting out of bowl games? That's just disgusting. How are you going to be growing up playing like they said? Hey, you're going to play in a Rose Bowl. Like, I'm going to sit out. That's unheard of. 5, 8, 7, 10 years.
That's a whole nother conversation that will probably take a whole nother show.
No worries. I just
that. Yeah, I'm very opinionated on that one. I'm not a fan at all.
I just think Utah wants that game more clearly, and Ohio State has enough firepower. But my thing is like, I heard they don't usually Ohio State travels very well. I heard they didn't really all travel like all that well. Maybe it could be COVID a little bit, but it's the damn Rose Bowl, bro. Like how do you not
go to the Rose Bowl?
And so for Utah, it's a bigger game. It's like, hey, let's get this notch on our belt.
Yeah.
And if you
it's
watch
going to be like the same. Yeah, it's going to be like the same reason that Michigan beats Georgia.
I think that does.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Only thing holding me back was that they got embarrassed.
No, I mean honestly, I know Damon and myself have actually been on Utah for the past few years.
Yes.
I mean we have been watching that team out there progress. And obviously, it's always at least that one time at the beginning of the season kind of gets them sideways for a little bit. But
Ohio State.
Yeah, you see how Utah dog whipped
secondary is trash,
Oregon
bro.
twice.
yep,
Yeah,
Ohio
you see
State
how
secondary is trash.
they're
yeah.
trash. And you see how Utah dog whipped Oregon twice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this not going to be an easy game for OSU.
Oh, man.
And if you don't have his safety blanket, Olave, coming back, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other guys on that defense that probably aren't going to play either. I think Ohio State is going into this with the wrong mind state, and Utah is going to come in there and they're going to thump them. They're going to thump them. They're going to thump them.
I mean,
good.
like, to me, like, that, I just happened to look at the games that are remaining. I'm like, that just was like Big Red Truck. Like, I thought to myself, like, I don't even understand. I mean, I don't understand how they're 4.5 point dog. I mean, I get it, like, you know, but like if that was a really, really, really good Ohio State team, not that they're not, you know, I'm not trying.
They'd be in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, that's true. They would be in the playoffs, but they would have got throttled in those too, man. You know, they got Michigan exposed a lot of their things, and Utah's no joke. I mean, I'm not playing Utah. I'd rather be playing Tennessee than Utah.
Matt right now is probably almost changing his pick on that game.
Yeah, that was one of the two games other than the CFP that I was looking forward to was the Utah, that one, and the Notre Dame game. It was another game that I was looking forward to see of non-CFP bowl games. So
it pains me to say I think Notre Dame's in a pretty good spot there. If you had
I'm mad because we should have played. I think that we should have been playing the Big 12 champions.
Yeah, I think you should have been playing Baylor. I'd rather see you play Baylor. And I think that's why I was intrigued about this one, because Notre Dame feels a little disrespected. I think that was a smack to you, telling you need to get out of the independency and get your ass into a conference. Because if you were in a conference, you wouldn't have had this issue. You'd be in the CFP.
And somebody picked OK State.
I did. I think OK State is a super underrated team. I really do.
They're underrated. They're underrated when they lost to Baylor. It's not just the 3 inches that he was missing. It was the 4 interceptions that he threw in the third quarter alone, damn near, that caused them to lose that game.
I get that. But Baylor's a good team, and like Baylor's underdogs to Ole Miss. I think Baylor outright beats.
It's a real slight underdog, but I think that's
Lane Kiffin is trash. Again, why do these dumbasses keep getting jobs? Hire me.
Right?
Come on, you can't tell me that Oklahoma State beating Notre Dame, that the Van Gundy interview afterwards is going to be awesome. Like, I'm a man. I'm 50. I beat the Catholics.
Absolutely.
Check out my Alabama waterfall.
Best mullet of all mulletdom.
Right.
All right, fellas. All right, fellas. On that note, I think we're going to wrap this show up. It's been a pleasure having both of you gentlemen on, joining us on the Dukes of Football.
Thanks for having us.
You have an open invitation to come back and talk college, pros, all you want, because you know we got pro talk coming up with these last couple weeks going into the playoffs. So it's going to be really exciting. So we appreciate you guys coming on and hanging out with us for a little bit. And make sure you tell your people to hit the share button and the subscribe button, and we can have a great friendship.
Let's do it again, man. We got this. This is a lot of fun, man.
Awesome. Dan, you got to
do it after Michigan loses.
March Madness special. Or before, you know. Anyways,
Definitely.
Great meeting you guys.
Yep.
Awesome time, man. Great podcast, bro.
Awesome, bro. Appreciate it. Dan, you got anything before we roll out?
Yeah, real quick. Obviously, I've been under a rock for the past month or so, it feels like. Thank everybody for all your support, your thoughts and prayers that y'all did for me over the past 3 weeks or so. I appreciate it. Just to let you guys know, I am getting better day by day. I am not a very good dependent person, and my wife and Damon knows I'm very independent, and this is killing me right now to be dependent on everything. But I'm not on oxygen anymore. I'm sitting here. The blood clots sucked, but they're still there, and I'm on blood thinners for the next few months. Hopefully, just seen the doctor yesterday. Hopefully, within the next couple of weeks, they are completely gone. Still just got to tell myself to slow down and remind myself that all the time. But so I missed you guys. I hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas, but I did not want to miss you guys and tell you Happy New Year's 2022 is going to be even better than 2021 for everybody, even Cowboy fans. You know why? Because it's going to be funny when the Eagles make the motherfucking playoffs with you guys. Just saying.
All right. So there you go. Well, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of your good things. You can hit us up on the website, BWSPORTS1.com. Check us out. Cool people. If you're looking to do some work, some business, some advertising, some digital enhancements to your portfolio, check us out. info.bwsports1@gmail.com. For the Lion, the One, our guest, the family, Happy New Year's, and we are out.
Boy, we're up.